Hi, and welcome.
I'm Z.
And I'm Keith.
And we're going to tell you about the movie that we just watched. But first, a little bit of a heads up.
Some of the movies we watch deal with heavy subject matters.
In order to talk about these emotionally delicate things and the heavy subject matters that we sometimes cover, we add humor and crude language to add some levity and to process our own trauma.
If that doesn't feel fun or safe for you, we completely understand. Please take care of yourself first and foremost.
And we spoil the end of pretty much every movie that we watch.
Now you know. On with the show.
Bouillon.
De La Fontaine. Latour.
Dauterive.
Dauterive.
Yeah, Dauterive. Yeah.
I just want to say off the top, get it out of the way. Bow wow wow. Yippee-yo.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
There's this GIF that we've been sending, me and Keith and my best friend Bunny have been sending to each other. That's just like a purple face saying, oh my God. And
With an eye roll.
the first time I saw it, I laughed so fucking hard that I was like literally fucking crying. I was like screaming about it. It was so funny to me. I don't know why. And we just keep sending it and we go, oh my God. when we're wanting to reference it in person with each other, whatever.
Whatever.
What are we like? We're
Trying to stay relevant.
All right. And let me just, looks like your mic's on too, and we're recording.
Checking.
So,
check.
last week, if you missed last week's episode, I let the whole thing go and didn't record Keith. I didn't recognize.
And I also didn't.
And Keith didn't turn on his microphone. I should say that. Keith didn't turn on his microphone, but I didn't catch it until almost the end of the episode. And I was like, you know what? It probably wasn't off the whole time because I would have noticed. But I didn't notice it was off the whole time. So we had to re-record the episode. You won't know that we say that it happened, but you have no proof other than what we tell you. But let me tell you.
That'd be a fun lie to do. For no reason.
It's been a struggle. The last couple of weeks have been a little bit of a struggle. Not for any reason other than circumstances without our control, sort of.
Mercury.
Mercury is in recto gape.
And because of more recent things, we happen to be recording on Labor Day.
Oh, my God.
We normally record on Saturdays, but...
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
It wasn't funny to me until you started doing the voice.
Because that's how I hear it. That's why. I don't know what it's from. I have no fucking idea. I'm sure it's from something.
Well,
I
you said
no idea.
One source you said was Tina.
Well, no, I mean, I don't know where the GIF is from. I don't know what that's.
I see.
So I have no idea what it sounds like or anything like that. But
Yeah.
I imagine it as either LSP or Tina saying, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
And so that Tina Belcher from Bob Burger,
People know what LSP stands for.
Lumpy Space Princess from Adventure Time.
From around the block.
From Adventure Time. Yeah, I didn't think
Used to
about
have
that.
a
I was
little.
like, LSP is more commonly known than a TV show currently on. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. As you can tell, we're here to gab about lawn dogs.
Alpha dog.
I like Apple Mommy better. God, fucking love that episode. How talk about it.
Become the Godhead usurper. Or whatever.
I have become the proud papa.
Killinger's such a great character.
He is a great character.
I don't know what, some kind of con happened recently, and so the Facebook profile called Venture Home News that I follow has been just nonstop photos of people. Lots of costume, a lot of
Oh, I see.
cosplaying.
Okay. Okay, that's what you mean by I was like
Convention.
convention, not someone like I don't know.
Long con.
Long con.
Well, here's what I said.
Yeah, maybe it was
To you last
maybe it was
night.
Comic-Con because they
No,
posted that they
it was
couldn't
like
go.
Dragon Con or something.
Yeah,
shit.
something like that, but they posted that they couldn't go
Oh, it's
because of
Comic-Con.
because of the strike.
Oh.
For the writer strike. Cuz I think this is something I didn't know. So the writers, I can't remember
WGA?
WGA, yeah. And then SAG-AFTRA.
Yeah.
But people are like saying like that voiceover stuff
Oh.
is a completely different union.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, "What?" Yeah. So like people can talk about like voiceover stuff and people can like promote voiceovers, but
Okay.
as
Weird.
far as I know, but I don't know if that's like all voiceover stuff is not covered or if it's like a certain type of voiceover stuff. So I have no
Right.
idea, but that was the thing that I found out. I was
Yeah,
like,
it's confusing.
"What?" So anyway, whatever.
I mean, I'm sure it's not that confusing if you're in one of those unions,
That's
but
the thing. Yeah.
as far as like what you can and cannot do.
I honestly I wish there's so much information out there and there's a lot of people that are like, cause like there's stuff where people don't like, people are calling like the Kardashians scabs because they're doing things, even though they're not in the WGA, they're doing things to promote stuff. Like they're working on like American Horror Story or whatever. And
Oh my god.
oh my God. And people are like, well, they're not in the WGA, so they don't have to strike. But the WGA has basically said that people who are influencers and cosplayers, they've asked them not to do things. So like if you're an influencer,
sure.
if you do cosplay, you're not supposed to like, and it's not dressing up. It's not like, oh, I dress up. But if it's like you do that for like a living,
Oh, I see.
or like, you're an influencer doing cosplay, especially like you're not supposed to be doing things that are like
Is that enough
basically-
of a
yeah.
thing?
Yeah. Well, because they are hiring those people to walk the red carpet instead of the act.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So they're like asking.
It's
them
like
to do
when
things. Yeah.
when bands hire singers from tribute bands to
Right,
replace their
Yeah.
like Judas Priest did that and
That's funny.
Journey.
That's funny. Anyway, Lorne Dogs.
Yeah, what I said to you last night after we watched it was, so there was a moment. It actually would have probably been too new for this to happen. I realized because, or not had come out because 97. Because I'm thinking of like, it was right before I moved to Pasadena, and I had this tiny studio apartment in downtown Riverside. And it had free basic cable or something, some kind of cable.
Yeah.
And my brother lent me a tiny little television that they had for their RV. It was great. It was perfect because I put it on the desk right by the bed. It was a furnished apartment, too.
That's so cool. I've never experienced that. That's so fucking
Yeah.
I've
I
always
just realized
wondered
it's the
about
only
that.
time I've... Anyway, fucking... Yeah, I got some... I didn't live there very long, but boy, I got some stories. I mean, they're not that crazy. Anyway, whatever. Fucking A. Bravo was included in the free cable.
Nice.
And it's like pretty much all I watched.
Nice.
But at the time, this was... I don't know if it was pre or it was just... it was how people talk about IFC now, in Independent Film Channel, in that they just showed independent movies a lot of the time. And before they started doing weird reality stuff like gay weddings.
Real Housewives. Like gay weddings.
No, I'm serious. By the time I moved to Olympia, they were doing like there was a reality show called Gay Weddings
That's amazing.
or
Gay marriage.
whatever. It was not entertaining because it was just about weddings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, it's exactly the kind of movie that would have played on there.
Yeah.
At that time is what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I saw it.
That means a lot to everybody, I'm sure.
It does, yeah. No.
The kind of thing that would have been on Bravo in 1996.
So I saw this. I think this played on like HBO or some shit. Or Cinemax or something. I don't know. My sister had
Turner
cable.
Movie Classics.
No. My sister had cable. And so when a lot of the things that I saw that were rated R or whatever, when I was a teenager, I saw at her house. And I loved going over to her house because, yes, I was the babysitter for the time. But that kid slept through the night and was great. I loved that. That kid was great. It was a great babysitting job to have because she would just fucking go to sleep.
Nice.
She didn't give a shit. I mean, she'd like stay up till 11 o'clock and then she'd just be like, bye. And like one time she
Deuces.
One time, she got up in the middle of the night and she came out and she went in the kitchen and she opened the fridge and she was like 2 or 3 at the time.
Okay.
And I heard her open the fridge and I was like, what the fuck is she doing? Because I used to stay up till like my niece.
Okay.
And I used to stay up till like 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning till the sun came up, or just all night watching movies, just straight up watching movies.
Nice.
So it was like 3 in the morning. She gets up, this little tiny child gets up. I hear her open the fridge. And
how do you even have the strength?
Right. And she comes out and she's, I mean, full upset. You know, like throwing
Floppy.
herself. Yeah, like, oh. She was like, I was like, what's the matter? I was like, what happened? And she was like, I'm thirsty and I couldn't open the picky juice. And I was like, you tried to drink pickle juice? Like, yes, I'm thirsty. And I was like, why don't we get you not pickle juice if you're thirsty? I was like, what the fuck? 3 in the morning, she gets up to have a tasty beverage of pickle juice. Granted, I will say, it's not uncommon. We in the family would straight up drink pickle juice. We're that kind of
sweet
disgusting.
or dill?
Dill. I wouldn't want to drink buttered popcorn pickle juice or whatever it's called. It's my preferred type of pickle, but I don't want to. I wouldn't want that juice. I really truly think that I have like POTS or something because I do like. Yeah,
like symptom.
Well, salt helps, and a lot of times you'll, you know, you don't. I didn't know that. Like,
what's it stand for?
I can't. I think tachycardia.
Probably only trans
stuff. Anyway. Anyway, yeah. So I would stay up all night and I would watch movies. Anyway. And this was a movie that I saw, and it was one that every time, like I had a few movies that like every time they were on, I was like, we're watching that. And this was one, like I was obsessed with this movie.
Yeah, you also said that you think that you probably saw the very ending.
Yeah, I know that
first,
I saw the end first.
And then you saw the whole movie, and and I totally can imagine
I was like, what the fuck? Because the way it ends, like I don't really want to spoil it because I mean, I don't know. It's a movie that I think it would be like kind of hard to get a hold of maybe. I mean, obviously you got a hold of it, but it's I don't feel like it plays on it. I've never seen it anywhere.
Ain't never heard it.
And the ending is not expected for the kind of movie that it is. Mm-hmm. But I love it. I love the ending. I think it's so beautiful. After the movie was over, I was like, huh, that was, you know, I had like a little tear came out, you know, during the movie, and I was like, that was lovely. And then I went to the bathroom, and in the bathroom I just started bawling. like you do. And I was like, it must be because I'm sleep deprived because we had had very little sleep the night before for no reason other than our bodies hate us. And so I was like, it must be being sleep deprived. So I watched the ending again this morning and I bawled my eyes out. So I was like, okay, well, maybe it's not sleep deprivation. I was like, all right, well, this ending gets...
Look at this cover. Oh, that's the mom. I'm like, who the fuck is even that?
Right. Also, she does not have that hair in the movie. She never wears that dress. Like, they pulled that photo from something else she was in.
Right. It's also like...
She's like probably the second most prominent character from like everyone else that's in.
Right. This is a much more representative. I mean, it's still not great, but
yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
I love that. That's it's like Trust. I mean, at least Trust is the right characters, but
yeah. But
he's 17 and owns a grenade.
What the fuck? When I saw, I was like, no, he is not 7. There's no way. He's 17. I was like, Martin Donovan was like pushing 40 at that point. He's 17. I was like, come on. He was in his fucking 30s at that point. I'm like, you can't. No.
I love it. It's also, at no point is his age even referenced. It's like all you need to know is he's a little bit older than her.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway,
but it's a similar thing in this. I mean, not that. They always ask him what he's going to do when he grows up and what he's thinking about college. And then he references being in jail for a while after the cops shot him.
With a shotgun. Yeah, right.
After he went to the liquor store and bought
booze.
And I'm like, well, obviously you're over 21.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't... Yeah. He doesn't say like he stole it. He doesn't say...
Yeah, it's hard to tell if that's supposed to be just a dig they do.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Or like anyway, yeah, and I'm sure one of the reasons is another reason it felt emotional was about it has a lot to do with class and poverty and trying to escape.
Yeah,
those cycles.
Yeah, and really the part at the end when she shoots or she shoots the guy and she's
Spoiler.
like, and he's like. You shouldn't have done that. He's like, they're gonna pin it on me.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, oh my God, and he, she like, he like, while she runs away, he takes all the bullets out of the gun, but nobody knows that and shit. So he's like, trying to protect her, oh man, I was like, fuck.
Yeah, it's,
It's really interesting.
The very ending is a bit of a, you can call it like sort of a Deus Machina.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's lots of things about this movie, and, maybe it's just the mood I was in. I was open to it.
Sure.
There's so many things in this movie that are kind of, in a way, like 90s indie tropes almost.
Yes.
This hindsight, but it didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't feel tropey. Mm-hmm. And, like, normally I wouldn't enjoy the young girl,
right,
older guy thing, but the dynamic really seemed honest. I mean, it really felt real.
Yeah. It wasn't a fucking professional
right, exactly.
kind of dynamic.
And, like... Yeah.
And it really is presented...
It's not a Lolita thing. It's not like...
yeah.
I mean, clearly she has... I don't know. There's never... There's lots of movies where, this character, the girl character, would have liked, like, probably undressed in front of him.
Right.
Gotten to bed with him or something.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's not real, like...
Right, yeah, that someone would... Yeah.
But, like... I don't know. There's just something about it. I don't know how to it's kind of intangible, and that's why I appreciated it. But like the moments where he lets his guard down,
Yeah.
it doesn't, like, the danger of it never feels like he's stopping himself from his urges.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want her to get the wrong idea. I know how this looks, that kind of thing. Like, he's already reminded on a daily basis that he doesn't fit in, and that people are looking for any reason to accuse him of anything.
Yeah. And I think that's really what I find the most interesting, is that they show you ultimately who's doing things. They don't like surprise you with it. They don't hold it and be like, oh, we don't know. Like, was it him that was stealing all the lampshades? Like, what? No, it's that little turd of a kid, and no one's suspecting him.
I was a little sad. I wanted him to come back.
I know, right?
Towards the end.
You wanted him to get run over with the dog.
Or something. Or to be like the secret savior or something.
Yeah, right.
I want him to come in guns blazing, Right. He's the one with the gun fetish.
When she turns the gun and points it at his mouth, and she's like, you'd be doing the
neighborhood a
favor. Oh my God.
I just love that how unsmooth and awkward it was. It's just like
two little kids doing a choreographed move. Yeah. So, okay. So the plot of it is sort of this. So obviously, it's called Lawn Dogs, which is a silly name, but it's this guy that mows the lawn for people. Like he's a sort of like a landscaper.
He's an independent contractor.
Yeah. And he, works for cash. He doesn't have any, they show him at the beginning, he mows someone's lawn, and they hand him, like, he knocks on their door and they're like, what do you want? And he's like, I'm done mowing your lawn. And they just like hand him like an envelope with cash in it. And then he's like, can I use your bathroom? And they just slam the door and then they walk away. And he's like, fuck. And he has to like, he doesn't have anywhere to go. And like the security guard for the neighborhood is like immediately giving him shit. Like his truck doesn't start right away, and like, the security guard is giving him shit. Like being nice to him in that way that lets you know that you're not safe.
Right.
That like specific sort of like yuppie niceness.
I used to mow lawns when I was a kid. After a while, it gets to be there's nothing in the world but lawn. Green lawn. And the best damn thing about lawns is they always grow back. Let's not be in here past 5 unless you clear with me first.
And it's just like such a fucking
after giving him a smoke and asking him for a beer.
Yeah, and shit like that.
Which all feels like entrapment,
exactly.
Like,
yeah. Because he says what do you have in there? And he's like, sody pop or whatever. And he's like, oh, I was hoping he'd say beer. And he's doing that so that the guy will be like, oh, yeah, I do have beer. You want one? And then he's like, oh, you should be doing that. And then
I like, as soon as we see him leave to go home, he pops a beer up immediately.
Also, Sam Rockwell was in the 90s. He was just like full dong. Like he was in things and he just, Box Moonlight, full dong, like full frontal.
I'm good on him.
And this one, full frontal. He really got his comeuppance. Like if you're like, oh, there was not comeuppance. What does that mean? No, I'm saying he earned his place in.
He earned his comeuppance.
Yeah, he earned his comeuppance. But like, there's less female nudity in this than there. Like, there's full frontal dude. Like, there's just butts and dong in the first. Like, the first nudity you see is Sam Rockwell taking his clothes off. And,
there's very little IMDb trivia about this, but did you see that there's the stunt double that did the actual dive?
Yeah.
They did 5 or 6?
They did 5 of them with him fully naked and 1 of him clothed.
Yeah. 30-foot jump.
Yeah.
9 feet of water.
Oh, my God. Oof. No thanks.
Yeah.
No thanks. Into that disgusting duck-shitted pond water. No thanks.
Well, it's probably a river.
Well, lake, whatever. River, lake, I don't know.
Liver Rake Ponds. Liver Rake Pond. My favorite Doctor Who character.
Fucking goddamn it. Anyway, yeah, so it's just there's this little girl who's her parents are making her, it's like,
The parents are perfect.
yeah, making her do like, it's not the Girl Scouts, but like Girl Scout type things where she's just having to like go door to door and like get people to sign up or whatever.
It's so confusing because
but
it never comes up again.
It's true.
And it doesn't feel like she does anything.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't seem to be in school, and
well, it's the summer, so she wouldn't be.
Fine, but like there doesn't seem to be troop meetings.
Yeah.
And how would she be the only member of that in the neighborhood? Anyway,
Yeah. No, I get that.
Selling cookies.
Yeah, but I don't know how long of a time it's supposed to be. Because he like is mowing, like it could just be like a week's period, You
mean in the span of the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, she's like selling cookies, and instead the parents are like, "Don't go out of the gated community." Basically, they're like, "Don't go past the gate," and she just ditches the neighborhood and just immediately goes out, and she goes and finds like the dude's trailer and just goes through his stuff, and he catches her, and he's not shitty to her about it. I mean, he's kind of like, what the fuck, you need to get out of here.
Yeah.
But she's really interested in, I think it's like there's an appeal to him that she knows that he's not. Like, the interesting thing is that like, so she's had like heart surgery, and so she has like this big scar, and her dad is wants her to be self-conscious about it, and wants her, like, there's a scene where he's talking about getting her plastic surgery because he's like the second a boy touches that, he's like, he's not coming back for seconds or whatever.
Oh. I still think we should look into some plastic surgery options.
She doesn't want it, at least not for now.
She'll want it when she starts dating. In a few years, if a boy like Brett feels that in the dark, then we'll be back for more.
Morton.
Yeah, and it's
That's
like
what he
this.
says.
Yeah, it's like, or something like that. He says something like that, and the mom like laughs or whatever. But he's just like basically like talking about how like deformed that she is and how she won't be, And so you get the feeling that there's this part of her that she is like, she is also someone that doesn't fit into that world because she was born imperfect and she was born with problems, and she can't do all of the things that other people can, or has not been able to, but like in ways that like, yeah, it was just like, there's like a part of her that's never been able to actually be a part of the world that her parents are in because of her limitations. And in that way, I think she is more interested in him because he's not allowed to be a part of it. So she's like, oh, we're more alike than different. So and she like gets excited because she's like, oh, is this like, like, oh, I know what kind of truck you have. And she's like excited, and she's asking him questions and about his truck. And it's not presented in any way like there's some kind of spark between them.
Right.
It's just that he's immediately like, I know that like you're a little girl coming into my space. Your parents don't even want me in your space. So you coming into my space is really dangerous.
Right.
And yeah, it's just like, they do a good job. Like you said, like normally the whole like,
it helps that it's written by a woman.
Oh, it is? Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
I mean, I imagine it helps.
Yeah. And it just, yeah, there's not any sort of like there's a scene where she's going to show him his scar, and she starts to unbutton her top, and he's like, no. And she's like, I'm not going to show you my tits. And he's like, oh, like,
Yeah, I think what's interesting about that, I realized since we've been talking, is one of the early scenes is her climbing out on the roof to howl at the moon, and she takes off her nightgown or whatever. And
Yeah.
she's just in her bottoms.
Yeah.
And like that really diffuses something.
Yeah.
Like I felt kind of weird about it at first. But I realized like, oh, yeah, that makes that scene
Yeah.
less.
Like it feels like it completely desexualizes her.
Yeah,
Which
right.
I'm not saying that you were sexualizing her before, or that like as
Right.
the audience member, not like
Right.
you personally, but like it lets you know that this is a child.
Yeah.
And it's a child that doesn't have an idea of like the like prepubescent child. So there's no. Yeah, it really does. It does do a lot of work, and she's like howling at the moon, kind of
Yep.
thing. Like it's very cute, and they don't do any close-ups of her,
Right.
so you just see it from a distance. But like you see her, and you can kind of see the scar. Like
Oh, I couldn't.
Right, I was gonna say I was like, oh, Keith probably doesn't notice
Yeah.
that it's there, but it's like darker in the in the middle. And yeah, there's something I was like, oh right, it's letting you know that she's a little kid, and there's
Right.
no question about that.
Right.
And she views her body the way a little kid would, which
Right.
is, you take off your clothes and you howl at the moon,
Yeah.
and then you're a wolf.
Right, but it's like it's also as an audience, it removes the sort of threat of
Yeah.
being implicated in
Yes.
a kind of voyeurism, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is counterintuitive.
Yeah.
I mean, because it doesn't feel that way during that early scene.
Yeah.
But then when she's going to
Right,
show him
right,
her
right.
scar, I didn't think that she was like.
Sexualizing
Yeah.
herself. Yeah, it didn't feel sexual.
Which I think, there's supposed to be some ambiguity about
Yeah.
like.
Oh, right.
Her feelings towards him, and if that's something, like in that moment,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. They're rewatching it because I didn't remember. I remembered it not in any sort of like. No, there was no sort of like romantic.
Yeah.
Not that you would think that there would be of a little girl and a grown man, but it's the movies, so you're like, oh God, what's it going to be? And I remembered that scene where she like unbuttons and she's like, I'm not going to show you my tits. Yeah, there's so much. I think there's a lot to it because they fought like they're really the main characters of the movie, this little girl and him, and it's like such an interesting sort of
Trent and Devin and Trent.
yeah. And yeah, it's a really good movie. I don't know.
It really is.
It's a unique film. Like
Yeah.
it's very not
It manages to do some things that
you're very
other
surprised.
films fail.
Yeah, I was like watching it and I was like, man, this looks like it's shot on like the worst digital camera from 1999 or whatever. Like the cheapest thing you could find. Like it's kind of grainy. It's not the best,
Speaking of grainy and not the best.
Fucking, yeah, and it almost adds to it. You get like it gives you a feeling of like this was shot bare bones. This feels like it was shot bare
Yeah.
bones. So it feels like you are in the midst of, and I don't know, there was something like when they have the barbecue and they have that fucking like,
Oh yeah,
what's it called?
they're like. Well, there's umbrellas, but then there's also like an easy up kind of
like a
canopy thing.
Yeah. Oh my God. And it's done up so like
And they have a TV out there.
It truly looks like something from 1997.
Yeah.
Like I absolutely saw this
In the white wrought iron.
Yes, everything
furniture.
oh my god, and it just looks so. I mean, you look at it now and you're like, this is so fucking tacky. But in the 90s, this would have been like.
Well, and this is the other thing. This is the class that these people are,
Yes.
right? Is that it's upper middle class. So there's
Right.
a lot of, and we haven't said it explicitly, but it's like a planned community in that it's like big houses. You know, it's like gated. There's not an actual gate, but like
Right.
it's one of those neighborhoods. It's like every house
Yeah.
is the same.
Yeah.
But they're big.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's kind of people that are like probably haven't. You know, they're kind of new money or whatever.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's like so. There's a lot of like
Yeah.
the pretense of wealth, like all of the showiness of it, kind of. You know what I mean? I don't know. It reminded me of, especially the kid with the fact that the kid was driving a giant ass old Cadillac. Just reminded me of kids I went to high school with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the rich kid who like he's not driving an old Cadillac because it's a beater and it was like he bought it for $500 or something. It's like a nice, well kept.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever.
I just thought about this. I'm like, oh, another reason they're so he's sort of in the movie, he's sort of sexualized. You know,
Trent?
he's the character that's sexualized, like Angie Harmon. You know, is using him to have fun, and he sort of knows that
Two
he's
scenes
not,
she's in.
Yeah. Well, she's in a couple. Like he sees her at first, and then she's like hooking up with him in his trailer, and then when he sees her at the barbecue, she's like, "Ugh."
Yeah, right.
And then, when he, like the next time she's hooking up at his trailer, he's like, "Oh, I want to meet your mom," and you know, and she's like, "Ugh, okay, bye." And the one guy that's sort of like coming onto him in a way, I sort of loved that dynamic because there was no, it did not feel like there was underlying homophobia.
Right.
But you get in the scene where
Like you're almost like it's almost to me. I'm like when he brings up the third grade or whatever. I'm like, oh, did they do some?
right, yeah. He's like, oh, you remember me? And then he puts his hand in his shirt, and like, it's
Presumably, twist his nip.
yeah. And the guy's just like, ooh, and then later when they're accusing him of stealing the CDs, and he says like, he's like, just, you know, he says something like, I don't remember what he says. He says like, what do you want from me? And the guy says, what do you have? And then he kisses him. And there's no retaliation. There's no retaliation. Right. There's no like, I'm not a fag, or there's nothing like that. And it's showing you that he's aware, or that he's subconsciously like believes that that's his ticket in. Like is that he's a novelty hookup.
Yeah, right.
You know, he's someone that they'll sleep with. And so he's aware that he's sexualized. And his relationship with Devin is completely unsexual in any way.
Right.
And so it's a safety for him in that he doesn't have to perform in any way. He doesn't have to worry about, and he knows that she's a kid, so she's not using him in any way.
Right.
She just thinks he's cool.
Right.
So it's like, oh, right. Like they sort of like reverse that kind of like, he's the one, like, cause I do think there's a lack of discussion around like the sexualization of like younger men and how they get used or can be like objectified, and how that's an expected thing. I mean, it's expected of women too, but it's talked about. Women will talk about that expectation of sexualization, but men don't. Yeah. And so it's like a really interesting thing to see it sort of
Right.
in this movie of like, and you'll notice like he and her, like he takes his clothes off and he jumps in the river, and she takes her clothes off, and both of those where you see them unclothed, nothing sexual is happening. So like the first time you're seeing, like you see them literally and metaphorically, they are exposed throughout the film. So
Right.
it's yeah, there's so much to it, and the way it ends is like, I don't know, it's the music and the voiceover, and like I think really what gets me is when he like throws the comb down and then looks back. And he's like, "Oh wow, it worked," or whatever, and then just like, but it's also like there's a part of it that is like she in her like she gets him out, and she like gives up sort of her role almost to get him out. And it's really interesting. I think it's really interesting. Her and Christopher McDonald, like their like dynamic during that scene, how he's just like terrified.
Yeah.
There's just something so really.
It's one of those things to describe it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it would work.
Yeah.
And I would say it almost comes apart for me dramaturgically.
Yeah,
but like it doesn't. It holds together. Mm-hmm. Things that again, they didn't ruin the film for me. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I overall enjoyed it and thought it was good. This is good. I could have done without so much of her narrating the Baba Yaga stuff.
Yaga. Yeah.
The ribbons in the tree, like.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't sure. In the end, it just feels like it was sort of eye candy.
Yeah.
Which is fine, except that it wasn't that visually interesting.
Yeah. I liked it.
But, yeah. Those are the main, like... And there's things like... other things that are just kind of like dropped balls or like... Not dropped balls, just like...
Right. Just balls that dropped.
Yeah, like a young...
Oh!
puberty. Like a young puberty. The young boy that is into 3 scenes. I mean, he's great. I mean, it's great whenever he shows up.
Yeah.
So it's a little. I was a little bummed that he didn't come back another time at least. But again, that's not. It's just like.
Well, he comes back up until like he steals the CDs, and that's sort of the culmination of.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's all.
I guess I wanted some kind of bow on that, or him to show up at. I really wanted him to show up in the climax.
I see.
Somehow, mostly just for giggles, but
yeah,
that and the stuff with the mom.
Yeah.
Is like okay. I mean, yeah, it's kind of. They're both kind of atmospheric in that they are world building or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They add to it describes. I mean, the stuff with the little boy informs the fact that everything gets blamed. Trent gets blamed for everything.
Yeah.
And the kid is ignored. Like,
yeah.
Whose parents is he?
Yeah.
Are his?
Whose parents is he? Whose parents has this boy given birth to?
Yeah. Your face before your parents' birth. And the stuff with the mom shows, I think is meant to show sort of a hypocrisy and a kind of sleaziness or whatever, like.
Yeah.
And it's, it's fine. It's kind of hot.
Yeah.
In that it's like naughty.
Yeah.
Although, fucking when she's holding up the salad, I'm like, just put it down. Why are you holding the salad up?
That's part of it.
And also, there's no way that dude is any good. He's only shown in service to her.
Yeah.
In service. And I'm like, there's no way he's any good at that.
Yeah.
Any of the things I can extrapolate that he's doing.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. But I like that his friends just like, okay.
I'll leave you two alone.
Like, she doesn't give two fucks of that kid. She's just like looking at him.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, bye. While the dude's pulling grass on her clitoris or whatever. Mm-hmm. My pet.
But I felt they're like things that it evoked for me that we've watched for the pod. Or there's something darkly noon about his place.
Yes.
It feels like Grace Zabrisky's trailer, like literally.
Yeah.
It's a trailer in the woods, so of course that's an obvious thing. But like the fact that it's on the edge of the rest of the reality, right? Like the housing track.
Yeah.
It's a great device, like that he's literally placed outside.
Yeah.
Of course, Misha Barton's character, Devin, reminds me of what's her name in Heavenly Creatures. And there's a thing about having been sick and that making you an outsider.
Yeah.
Who's it?
Kate Winslet.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something else in there.
I liked something that I noticed that I thought was very...
And the fairy tale aspect of the unreal aspects of Darkly Noon.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that because...
Heavenly Creatures, where they have their
Darkly
separate
Noon
world.
is sort of technically sort of like a futuristic science fiction movie, even though...
As far as the setting, yeah.
Yeah, even though you're not fully aware of that, which I think is really
I love that
cool aspect of it, where it's almost post-apocalyptic, where there's this great sickness that is like taking over, but the people in the film are seemingly unaffected by it. And then, so I was like, oh, it's almost a similar thing in Lawn Dogs where they're in this world, like you see their community, but there's nothing else.
Yep.
And like usually,
there's absolutely don't see. You literally see. You can see the whole.
Yeah.
There's long shots where you see houses.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just lawns.
Yeah, it's just lawns. It's just prairie, and that's it. Yeah. And then when he visits his family,
and then there's some wonderful shots too of like. Oh yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, you're fine. What?
Well, just like towards the end there when she and him go off and then they're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And anyway.
You're fine. He goes to visit his family and there's a normalcy in that is completely separate from the rest of it. And it's super interesting. And it's heavy handed, like they don't do it, it's obviously not subtle.
Right.
Just like that mic move.
The move was subtle, okay?
But when she asks if she can take him a glass of water, and she goes to grab a glass and she says, not the nice ones, there's a cup under the sink that you can use.
Oh, yes, that one. Sorry, I thought you were talking about when...
No, yeah, I am. So she, but then when they go to visit
Which fucking freaked me out. I'm like, under the sink?
I know, yeah.
Down where it's wetter.
But if you notice, she she washes it out and the mom's like, you don't need to do that. Like, ugh, And then it's so, like, she goes to his parents' house. Mm-hmm. He takes her to meet his family. After, I think it's after he gets... Yeah, after they think he stole their CD, so they put sugar in his mower, and they completely ruin his mower, and that's his whole livelihood. And he's like, I don't have the money to replace it. I can't, he's like, I'm fucked.
I appreciate that too, that he breaks it down. And I know this is, going to feel like maybe giving more credit. But like some movies wouldn't even bother with that. They
Yeah.
just he would be pissed off, and that would be it. But the fact that he's like,
Well,
Yeah.
I could sell the truck to get a new mower. But then how am I going to get the mower around? I could sell the chainsaw, and that might bring me enough to buy a half-ass mower. But then I'm going to be mowing with a piece of shit, and I'm going to be out of a chainsaw to do tree work. So, you know what? Just fuck the whole thing.
it's just the calculations you have to do if you're
Exactly. Like, no, 100%. Like, there's just something and he's so broken about it. And he starts beating up his lawnmower because it's fucked. Like,
Right.
There's no saving it. And
She
she
starts
freaks
jumping on
out
it.
a little bit. Like, she gets nervous.
Right.
And then she sees he's upset. So she just, and he steps away from the mower. And when she sees he's upset, she goes and starts beating it up.
Fucking jumping on it.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, let's go for a ride. And he takes her to see his parents. And he tells his parents, what I feel they're showing you is that he tells his dad, hey, the mower is broken. And I'm like, oh, his dad. It's his dad's mower.
Oh,
That's what
Shit.
he wouldn't tell him, And I don't think it's his dad's current, like it's just he took it's the mower his dad had that his dad gave him that used to belong to his dad when his dad did it or whatever. And I was like, oh fuck, and he's telling it, yeah. But he goes to visit them and his mom, who's played by Beth fucking Grant, so, already wonderful performance.
Yep.
The second she shows up, you're like, well, I'm in. The movie's almost
Absolutely.
over, but I'm
whatever else happens.
yeah, I don't care. Beth Grant's in this. So she asks Devin, she's like, do you want some iced tea? And so she tells Devin, she was like, get the fancy glasses. Like since
the horse glasses.
Yeah, she's like, get the horse glasses, get the fancy ones, since we might as well use them, we never get a chance to use them. And it's letting you know, it's like this, it's such a, like I said, it's heavy-handed, of course, but it's showing you that sort of like, and I'm not one of those people that's like, when you're poor, what's important is family. It's not like that. Like when you're
Right.
poor, you care more, but it's showing you that it's not about like sharing what you have doesn't take anything away. Doesn't mean that you have more.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you are it just means that you're doing it better. Like sharing what you have just means that you're being a good person, and it's showing you like immediately she's welcomed into their home. There's no question. Like they're not like,
Right.
whose kid is this? Or like,
no
what is,
gatekeeping
there's
kind of
not,
stuff.
yeah. They're like, you want some iced tea? Like, let's have it. And he's just talking to his dad, and also the scene, I mean, I know it's ridiculous, but the scene where his dad gets upset and goes outside and sits down. And like he gets upset and he goes outside, and the dad goes outside and he sits in his chair, and then he moves his chair closer to the sun. I was like, fucking god damn it. It's so stupid, but I was like, fuck.
Yeah, I think some of what works about it is I assume it's, I mean, there's a lot of projection or presumption or both, that like the writer is pulling from
Yeah.
something from
Yeah.
their childhood, you
Yeah.
know. So it has that's what gives it some of its
Yeah. Right. Gravity.
groundedness.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
groundedness,
Like
yeah.
you really get, it's not like straight POV Devin's perspective, right? Like it's
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of it's
yeah,
a lot of
yeah, yeah.
Trent's perspective too.
Yeah.
But in the scenes where it's about what Devin's experiencing,
Mm-hmm.
like it feels like it rings true. It feels
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
grounded in reality, like, and in not, and not an adult riding a child. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's something.
And I love the fact that, like, she freaks out when he kills the dog. Because it's so accurate. You know, like, you're a tough kid and you're into weird shit, but it's
you're still
violence or, like, at some point something's going to freak you out like that.
Yeah.
Like, and then she runs home and it's over.
And to be clear, he doesn't kill the dog just to be a piece of shit. He accidentally hits the dog. Yeah. And then the dog's, like, very sick. So, I mean, this is a thing that you do, especially when, when
sure.
you're
If you're raised poor and country and rural.
Yeah, you kill the animal when it's sick because what else are you going to do? Like, it's suffering.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying I've ever killed an animal. Please don't. That's not what I'm saying.
I have personally seen you put a horse down. Just because it sneezed.
It's me, myself, and Irene. It's such a stupid movie, but there's one scene where they come across a fucking like a cow. And it's like on the side of the road. And I think they're running from the police. Like, it's a whole thing where, like, a bunch of misunderstandings happen. I don't remember all of it, but they're running from the police. Or they're like, they're wanted for something. Anyway, they see a cow and it's like, they pull over and it's Jim Carrey and Renee Zellweger. And he's like, oh, I don't know. I think, the cow's just like, and she's like, oh God, is it dead? And he's like, yeah, I think it's dead. And it is like, and she's like, oh God. And he's like, oh no. And it's like, it's like.
They just see it? They don't hit it or something?
No, I don't think they hit it, because if they hit it, I mean, they wouldn't have been able to go anywhere after that. So he, like, shoots it in the head and it, and he's like, okay, now it's dead. And it's like, he just shoots it, keeps shooting it. And he's like, okay, all right, it's dead. And then he goes back, and so he's, like, strangling it. And then the next scene is, like, they're like, they tried to kill this cow. They're like, it's a miracle it survived. And it's so fucking stupid, but that's what it made me think of. But yeah, like, he kills. What's interesting about it is when she freaks out and she goes and she tells her parents, and it's really interesting because the guy that the mom is hooking up with, he touches her inappropriately at some point. And he, like, this is something that, like, I've absolutely had that experience of, like, an older guy when you're, like, a preteen, like 10 or younger, touching you or doing something, and it's, like, not quite a thing, so you're like, I don't know what to do about it.
Right.
Like, should I tell someone?
Yeah, I really appreciated the scene where she brings it up.
Yeah. And the mom's like, well, I don't know. Like, and the mom does not want to believe it, sort of. And she ends up being like, he was just tickling me. That's all. And they're like, oh, great. Thanks. We don't have to worry about it.
Right.
And she, like, spits out her food and leaves.
Oh, yeah.
And then later, when she gets upset because Trent killed the dog, they're like, did he touch you? Has he touched you in any way? And they're, like, very, like, upset that he's giving her any attention. But, like, literally this dude is, like, had like, put his hand up her shirt and told her, like, not to tell anyone and shit like that. And then, I mean, like, Trent does say, like, if we're friends, we have to be secret friends and shit like that. And so, like, I do appreciate that, though, because it adds to, like, the lack of understanding where, like, and it's like he's saying it because he's like, don't tell your friends you hang out, or don't tell your parents that we're friends. Don't tell your parents that you walk to my house and hang out with me. Like, don't. I let you stay over because you fucking lied to your parents and, walked to my house at night. Like, don't do that shit, or don't tell them that shit.
Right.
And I get that. Like, I'm like, okay, it's,
Right.
he's
Well,
not saying.
it's a thing where he's kind of screwed either way.
Exactly.
No matter what happens.
Right. And, he gives her a turtle because he found it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they get so like fucking freaked out over the turtle and shit. And I'm like, oh my God. Anyway. So they're asking her, like, did he touch you? And she was like, yeah, they're like, she's like, he touched my scar. And they're like, what the fuck?
Right.
And she's like, I touched him too. Like, it was, we did it because we were friends, and it's this thing of like a kid not understanding.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
And trying to be like, no, it's
cool.
It's cool. Like, we did a cool thing. And like that sort of thing being like so like the innocent, you could see how you can see like basically you can see the parent's perspective and you can see her perspective of like, because you were there and you're like, yeah, he wasn't, at first he was like, he was like, ugh. He's like, what the fuck?
Right.
And, and.
Well, I also like, too, because I feel like at this point we've seen characters. I can't think of an example, but of sort of jaded young women.
Yeah.
Not jaded, that's the wrong word. I mean, like.
Bitchy cunty.
Yeah, like man-hating, feminazi.
Perioding.
Just going around snipping scrotes.
And on their period, just
like,
free bleeding. Yeah.
It's a trope at this point that, like a young woman who's like cynical beyond her years kind of thing.
Yeah.
Who would... I mean, I think also Devin's supposed to be younger than the character I'm imagining, but like...
For sure.
It's
like Matilda from The Professional.
Yeah, for instance, who would lie or know when to lie or
yeah
have gamed out some of the consequences.
Yeah, right.
That Devin doesn't.
Yeah. Experience a different kind of trauma than Devin does.
Right.
Yeah,
right, exactly. Which is the kind of thing that the hypervigilance isn't there, or it's a different flavor or what have you. Like, she reacts as a child in some moments.
Yeah. Right. And what's there was like a scene, I think it's when they're coming home from his parents or they're I can't remember. But she's in the car and she's like looking at him and she has like she's she asks him something or something and she's like gets this expression like she's like excitedly waiting for his response or something. Like and it's very childlike. She looks like a little kid when they talk to someone about something where she's like, oh, I think I know what they're going to say. Or like, oh, I hope, is it going to be, I'm so interested to hear whatever this is. And it's like, I'm like, oh, right. Like, they're not asking her to give a performance that's more mature.
Yeah, right.
She's not being asked to give the performance of someone who's wise beyond their years.
Right.
She's being asked to give a performance that is a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
And that's what she does. And there's something about that you're like, whoa. It gives more heaviness to the story and it adds more weight and emotion, especially at the end, when she takes over.
Yeah.
And like saves everyone or saves him. It's like, it's really, Would you recommend?
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, man, we gotta look up and see if it's available anywhere because I've like never seen this. I feel like I've never seen it available, which is why I was so shocked when you were like, oh, I downloaded this movie.
It appears to be available on all the free streaming. It's on Tubi, Pluto,
Oh,
Freevee.
shit, really?
According to IMDb.
Awesome.
Roku. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Let's see.
But yeah, I had never heard of it.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, so definitely watch it if you haven't seen it. It's very. Yeah, it's really. Yeah, it does.
I couldn't tell you, and I'll say, I mean, I feel like it's probably pretty clear that I thought Misha Barton was great.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think it's kudos to the director and writer for whatever magic they made happen there. Like, and again, like, I think the Professional, for instance, it was like the closest in time, like the most recent viewing.
Yeah.
That has a somewhat superficially similar dynamic,
for sure.
right? Like, and how what a contrast it is.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
How less gross I feel about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And, but also Sam Rockwell was great.
Yeah, yeah.
It's one of those characters that you could see a different director or actor going too hard on, like him being, and like I love when he's like, "I'm just a country boy," like I slobbered and I spit.
We can be friends if you can keep it a secret.
What's wrong with you and me being friends?
Well, for one thing, I'm a country bumpkin, right? I was born sucking on a bottle of rat gut, and I'm a piss poor son of a bitch. You do anything for a buck. I slobber and I spit and I fart.
Let me go!
Eat little princesses like you for breakfast.
She's like, shine my shoes. And he's like, I'm trying to go out and see my flick. Yeah, it's so fucking funny. But,
also, that's one of my favorite ways to engage with kids is act like just treat them like they're the boss and I'm afraid of them and let them fucking wail on me.
Yeah, clearly.
I mean, I don't want to sexualize children, but
No, the kid that we see that like literally chase you down the street.
Look,
fucking.
I didn't start that dynamic.
I know, but you definitely.
There's a kid. Have I talked about this?
No.
There's a kid. We do our morning walks. We
do our morning old people walk.
Yeah, we usually follow the same route, and there's this couple of kids, and there's this one little kid that like as soon as he saw me, he started just wanted to come up. I mean, the first time, I forget how it started, but the second time he was just like, his eyes lit up.
Oh, man.
And he raised his fist and just was so excited to start punching me.
Crossed the street with his fist raised, walked right up to Keith and just
punched me in the dick.
Punched him right in the ass. Not even kidding. And just started wailing. And his mom was like, what the fuck? She's like, sorry. And you're like, oh, it's fine. And every time we see him, one time he said bug and you're like, oh, you're a bug? And he's like, no, bug. And you're like, you have a bug? And he was like, no. And you're like, you need a bug? And he was like, yes. And you're like, okay, gotcha. He was like, bug.
Because the sibling or whatever had one of those little
like one of those like grasshopper bug. Oh man, yeah, he's absolutely thrilled. Did he have like a fake knife one time too or something? I can't remember. I feel
like
he
had like a sword and a shield maybe.
And he was just like, oh my God, he just threatens Keith's life any chance he gets and loves doing it. Someone hire that kid. It was when he acts stupid or whatever. That's very funny.
Like it's kind of nice, like it works. The Rent-A-Cop guy is maybe the one thing approaching this. But I like how the adults aren't really... There's almost no adults in the movie.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
There's no... Again, this is why it feels like a child's perspective.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
Like...
Or just not a fully adult. No one over the age of 25.
Yeah, none of the adults... I mean, his parents maybe, Trent's parents, are like...
Yeah.
I felt myself... not relating to anyone besides Devin or Trent.
Yeah.
And I think that's on purpose. Everyone else is
somewhere else
on some other trip,
right? But there's an aspect of it of like some of that is they're not paying attention, and so
Right.
they're
Exactly.
they're almost not fully within the scene. Like they're
Right.
out. Like
There's secondary characters.
Yeah. This is the thing. The security guard, they call him Nash.
Yeah.
And I think
his
that's
hat
funny.
says Nash?
His hat says Nash, and I'm like, please tell me that's
Yeah.
the company he works for,
It's
and
like-
they just call him Nash.
It's like
so funny to me.
It's like Rahul Kohli's character being called Sharif.
yeah,
because he's the sheriff?
Yeah,
And people legitimately think that's his name.
yeah. Oh my god.
I want to read.
No, it's because they call him that in. They call him that as like a dig.
Yeah, it's racist.
Yeah.
It's also like
But
people,
everyone's like,
people are like
Rahul
Sharif.
Kohli plays Sharif in it, and everyone's like, what? Nope, that's not who he plays.
Oh.
That's not who he plays in it. Because they didn't understand that people are calling him that as a racist dig. Like they were like literally like there was like reviews of it talking about the character Sharif was a very great character. And they're like, you did it wrong. They're like, you did it wrong. Yeah.
Are these the same people that made videos how Midsommar had a happy ending? Like, what the fuck? I want to read a quote from Roger Ebert.
About the movie?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
All of the events happen with the precision and vivid detail of a David Lynch movie, but I do not know why. It is easy to make a film about people who are pigs and people who are free spirits, but unless you show how or why they got that way, they're simply characters you've created.
What? Oh my god.
Which is an interesting take. There are definitely movies I felt that way about.
Oh,
but
for sure. I feel that way about David Lynch movies.
Right. Exactly.
So-
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And I think another thing.
I'm sorry.
No.
What were you? Please remember what you were saying.
I don't have that much more to say. I don't think.
Oh,
I
I
just
don't
wanted
think-
to say that, like, especially in response to that Ebert's
Mm-hmm.
thing, like, and again, like, it's the whole. The sum of the parts are more. The whole is more than the sum of the parts. Like, you've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
versions of it.
Yes.
But there's it holds together and it creates a cohesive thing that I feel like other films don't do. And of course there's better movies than this. I'm not saying it's like
Oh,
a perfect
yeah.
movie by any means, but it does what it does.
Yeah.
It succeeds at what I think it's trying to do. And it's also I like that we see his parents.
Yeah.
They are only one click away from being more than two-dimensional. But also, and again, this is Beth Grant, and
I was gonna say, but it is
yeah,
Beth Grant.
I mean, Beth Grant is my granny. Like
yeah.
when I was Devin's age. I mean, she's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
older. She could be my mom.
Yeah. No, she's your mom.
I'd
Oh
let her.
fuck!
I'd
I did
let
it.
her.
I always do that. I always say, "Nah, she's your mom," instead of "Nah, she's my mom."
That makes it funnier.
Oh. Okay.
Anyway, like, my parents and grandparents. I lived, as a kid, we lived in a mobile home.
Yeah.
When they died, my mom and grandma lived in a mobile home.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that home is real. Like that's.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been in that home.
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
And Beth Grant is, again, she's not given much to work with, but she's so believable.
She has like
And
4
even
lines, and you're like still destroyed when you see her being sad because Sam Rockwell has a fucking fit because his dad wants to give him
You're
his
fucking
old.
flagged.
I
love
do
the fact
like.
that he flies off the handle. It's like
I
kinda,
do. Yeah, I don't know. I like it because his dad is like, he goes to visit his parents, and then his dad's like, "Here, take these for when I die or whatever." He's like, "Someone should have them before I die," and he's like, "Jesus Christ,
when you're gonna die.
Yeah, he's like, "Okay, then just fucking die already." And I'm like, ooh. And it's like, it's the same thing of like, there's that like threat of, you're seeing your parents decline, and you're like, I can't keep, there's this like,
yeah.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
Like, you know, like this maddening thing of his dad is just getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And he's like, well, I'm going to die soon. And it's like, oh my God. Okay. Like, and it's like, you know, especially when the younger you are, the more you're like resentful of them,
Right.
what seems like giving up and, you know, like all this shit. And it just boils over. I don't know. That scene, I think I got more out of it, I think, than you did when it was.
Oh, really?
I don't know. You
Maybe.
seemed not to enjoy it.
Oh, well, I think that's partly because it felt a little too close to home.
Oh, I see.
Some of it.
Okay.
But it's also like feels abrupt. I mean, I think that's also real. Like,
Yeah. I think that's why.
yeah.
Because I think that is the whole, I think that is exactly, like, if that's what made it feel more real, how abrupt it is, where it's like he's visiting his parents and it's like, fucking, you can't even let me visit with a little kid without talking about how when you die, like,
right.
just immediately being like, I can't fucking do this. I can't.
No, I don't think it's, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I probably had to check out a little bit.
That's fair.
If I'm honest.
That's fair.
But, yeah, you can see another, like, it's a tiny little bit about his. You can see another movie, and this is kind of a beef I have, is you get a character that has no context or no backstory.
Yeah.
Or if they have a backstory, it's all done with.
Yeah. Flashbacks and.
Yeah. Oh, God, it drives me crazy.
Telling it, not.
Yes. Or here, I'm watching this.
I'm
watching a slide or film of a deceased relative, partner. My child died, and here's me watching the.
I'm once again watching the high definition video on this holographic player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of James Franco. Doing rock climbing.
Oh my God. But yeah, I don't know. There's just something about it that I was worried that I was like, God, I really hope that, you know, I was like halfway expecting, because I know like when I was obsessed with this movie and I didn't, I remembered everything, but like a couple, like when he's on the porch or on the like steps with his dad and it's playing that, like, is it Leonard Skinner? Is that who?
Good guess. It's Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan, that's what it is. Because I heard the Leonard Skinner version. Right? There's a Leonard Skinner version of that song, right? Am I making that up?
Guns N' Roses did a cover.
Okay, that's what it is. Guns N' Roses. Fucking goddamn it.
The Dylan version sounds like it could be Leonard Skinner.
Okay. But I heard like that was like the first time I'd heard that version of it. And I was like, oh, this is actually a good song.
Right.
And when we were watching it, I was like, oh, I wish I could, like, before that scene, I was like, oh, man, I wish I could remember what movie it was where they play that fucking song, where they play, like, Knocking on Heaven's Door.
And it was this movie?
I was like, and they're, like, sitting outside or something. I was like, I just remember that feeling, like, really heavy, whatever that is, like, just feeling. And then as soon as they showed his dad, I was like, oh, fuck, it's this movie. I was like, it's this fucking movie. Yeah. I was like, oh, my God. But, yeah,
what
like.
Me watching Amateur? I'm like, this is that movie Angel that I've been trying to find.
This is that one other movie that I thought it was. But yeah, like every single scene that they had, like, I was like, oh, fuck. I remember this. And it's that thing of like something you've seen, but it's been so long. Like I knew like a scene would start and I'd be like, oh my God, like when he was like, when they're like, oh, you took the CDs, I was like, oh, I think he kisses him in this. I was like, oh fuck, is that what happens? And then it did, you know, like, and then when because I was just like, wait, it was like, I had just started thinking, I was like, wait, was Beth Grant like in the background somewhere and I just didn't recognize her because it was like a long time ago.
Right.
And then they pulled in to his parents' house or his parents' trailer and I was like, oh my God, this is like,
where Beth Grant lives.
And I was like, this is the fucking Leonard Skinner. I don't know why I thought it was Leonard Skinner for so long. It's probably something my mom told me. Yeah, anyway, whatever. There's something about this movie that it really does feel like other films have tried to do something similar and really failed. And I think part of what makes this movie, I think what makes it work in the way that it does is how it ends in that sort of like over the top way, because it's not building up to that. It's not promising that. It's not telling you anything's going to happen. It surprises you with it. It really surprises you with
You're right.
it.
Complete shift in tone.
Right.
But not
unwarranted, not without reason. It's a culmination of all of these things that have been happening. And I think what makes it work isn't that the tone of the film shifts. You're suddenly like, you're like.
Also, there's a thing about like, because of the fairy tale aspect of it, you would expect the little girl to be the one that gets away or is lifted out of the reality, right?
Yeah. Right. And like, you know, in some ways I'm like, you could argue that once he's gone, she doesn't know where he is, so she's imagining all these things, you know?
Yeah.
I think maybe I'm wrong. I think they try to sort of subvert that by showing him seeing it.
Yeah, right.
And like him being like aware of it, you know? But also, I think like what makes the shift in tone work is less, it's again from her perspective.
Right.
Her understanding of things changed.
Right.
And that's what changed. And that's why it feels okay. That's why it feels like it goes along with the movie, because she's stepping out of the role of helpless child.
Mm-hmm.
And you graduate with her and you go with her. And there's almost something empowering in that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you feel like, you know, like afraid for her, and you feel like overwhelmed and like all of these things, and you're surprised and you don't expect these things from her.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you've repeatedly shown that she does things her own way. She's always, you know, done things her own way. It's not out of character.
God, it's literally a Chekhov's gun.
What does that mean?
Well, because you see it in the first or second act. So it has to come back.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
But it's when she's being, it's when she pees on the car.
Oh, God, yeah.
That was a great scene.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, there's little stuff like that where you see her rebellion, like when like Trent is at the barbecue and the dad is like everyone's being a fucking menace to him.
She's standing there with the plate
I know,
of food.
and he like leaves, and as he's leaving, she has brought him a plate of food because they're making steaks, and his dad tells her to put hot dogs on the grill for him.
The fucking thing, like,
oh man,
I'm $10 short.
All right, you're just $10 shy here, Mr. Starker.
What are you saying?
Saying you just $10 shy of what we agreed on.
I just gave you a couple hot dogs, didn't I? Just pulling your leg there, son. Take that with you. All right, meet's on.
And he's like, oh my God. And then he's like, oh, I'm just kidding, you know, and it's this whole thing and everyone's looking at him. It's so fucking painful and it's horrible. And he's like, you know, it's this awful scene. And then she brings him food, but he like is driving away as she brings it out because she didn't get there in time. And so she's sort of devastated and she puts it all in her dad's toolbox, which I love. She just empties it out in his toolbox and then pees on his car.
And then does the wipers. I love that too.
Yes.
That's such a nice touch.
But the first time she sees his gun and she's playing with it.
Yeah, that's when dude comes up.
And the dude comes up and he like, you know, touches her and shit like that. And then he says, you know, not to tell. And it's like,
You smell like your mom.
I know. Yeah, it's so gross. It's, you know, because he's the dude that's like fucking hooking up with her mom.
Right.
So he's doing this stuff, and there's like, yeah, it's like, yeah, there's so much to that scene. But the next time that she takes it, she's like taking ownership. So I feel like it signifies that like,
Yeah, totally.
she is like, you know, at that point she like let it go. Like she let him have the gun, and then, you know, she ran away, and this time she took the gun and she didn't run away. So it's like,
Man, she shoots him.
yeah. Well, she shot the other guy. She
Oh,
didn't
it's the other
shoot
guy.
him. Yeah, it
Okay.
was. I wish it was him, but yeah, there's just so much.
I also was thinking like, and kudos, like the magical realism of the finale
Yeah.
for 97.
I know. This is what I was thinking. I was
And,
like, what the fuck?
Also, I was thinking like part of that looking good, or like it might just be, I mean, like you could blame it on budget,
Yeah.
but the trees look like the trees of the area,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the water rising
Yeah.
looks like almost like an in-camera trick. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like just a
Yeah.
what do you call it? Foreshortening,
Yeah.
perspective shift. Like you can imagine that the camera's just getting closer. to
Yeah,
the water,
yeah.
You know, but you know, then you see the bridge underwater. But
Yeah. Like, I'd be curious to know how they did all that shit, because I'm like,
I
this
know.
movie did not have a budget. There's
Right.
no way this movie had a budget.
But that's what I'm saying. Like you can imagine like a film from 1999 doing the same exact thing,
And
the color not matching.
Yeah,
Or
everything being so fucking ridiculously CGI to
Right.
the point that you're like, oh my God, I don't
Yeah.
even care.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think the magical realism of the end, I think the reason why it feels so, at least for me, why it feels so emotional, why it feels so, is that, yeah, there's some sort of thing of like a loss of, you know, like the loss of innocence, or the
Yeah,
lack
right.
of like, when you grow up, you lose that idea, those
Right.
ideas, those things. And then it's like she gives him that sort of like
Yeah. Right.
magic.
Yeah.
And there's something.
It's like she, like hands it off. It's like,
Yeah.
it's not hers anymore.
Yeah. And it's so,
Oof.
right?
Fuck.
Right? And she's like,
Don't make me get all gods and monsters.
oh man. Yeah. I've cried so much over this movie, and I'm like, God. But I think it's like, why I'm probably gonna start crying. I think why is because I saw it when I was a kid.
Right.
And the ending floored me when I was a kid. And you know, I had like all these hopes and all of these
Right.
dreams and all of these things that I wanted. And it's not in the way that it's not like, oh, that's not there anymore. I'm like, how beautiful is it that you get to rewatch this as an adult and you can touch that little part of yourself that you thought you lost.
Asshole.
And that's really why.
Yeah. And so many movies try to do that, right?
Yeah. And it's like,
And
it's
I know that's like, this flavor of that is not going to work for everybody, but
yeah. And like, I know that this isn't a movie that people are going to watch and be like, oh my God, this is the fucking most emotional movie ever. But like,
right.
I saw this movie and like,
That's why it works
Right.
for me, or it
Right.
hits this, I let myself.
I saw this when it was like a newer movie. I saw
Mm-hmm.
this in 98, 99, something like that, when it was like just coming out. And like, when, like I said, like the first time that I saw it, it was the first thing that gave me like that sort of like, I need to write something. Like I have to
right,
write
yeah.
something. And like looking at it, I was like, there's so many little tiny things in this movie that I've ingested, and I put them in my stories, and I always have like these little things that you know, it's again, it's like it's got the thing of like sort of like found friendship or like found family, but like they don't interact because of some like thing. Like it's all happenstance. It just happens. There's no attempt to over explain it.
Right.
Or anything like that. It just happens the way it happens. And, you know, I'm such a sucker for that. Anyway, I was like, God, I better not cry in the fucking recording.
God forbid.
No, I mean, anybody that is like listening and you're going to watch it and you're going to be like, this movie was not that great.
Yeah.
And that's fine. It's just like, this was a movie that like, I saw this when I was like 13.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just something about it that...
You know, another movie came up for me. I can't explain why exactly. Is Spanking the Monkey.
I've never seen that. I've never seen that.
We should do it.
What is that one?
It's a 90s indie movie, and it's just a dude who is home from college.
Is that with Debbie Harry? No, it's not. Never mind. I'm thinking of... Hold on. Keep going.
You're thinking of Satisfaction with...
I'm not thinking of Satisfaction. I'm not thinking of Satisfaction.
Wait, who's Liam Neeson?
Oh, fuck.
I don't know. I don't know.
Go ahead. Keep.
Oh, well, dude's home for the summer and from maybe his first year of college or something. Or I don't remember what the story is, but he's kind of trapped at home. And his mom has got a broken limb or something, so he has to... And there's a lot of scenes of like him like trying to figure out how to masturbate in a subtle way. And I think he ends up having sex with his mother.
Maybe it is. Hold on.
Naomi Wallace
Okay.
wrote this. They have like very few other writing credits. Something called The War Boys.
6 Ways to Sunday. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh.
An 18-year-old mother's son. Wait, what? 18-year-old Harry, what? Shows his cruel side at one occasion and is hired as a hitman. It's just like he ends up sleeping with his mom, I think, who is played by Debbie Harry.
Hot.
Norman Reedus. That's who it is. It's Norman Reedus. Oh my God. Adrian Brody's in this. Wow. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Alina Lowenson is in it too. That's insane. I had no idea.
That is wild.
I had no idea.
Well, now we got to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds similar.
Yeah. That's crazy. Anyway, whatever.
Jeremy Davies.
Is it Spanking the Monkey?
Yeah.
Oh shit, I gotta look this up.
He's the kid. He's the main guy.
Anyway, the 90s was a special time for indie movies, and yeah.
Jeremy Davies.
Fucking Jeremy. Anyway, whatever.
Check out Lawn Docs if you can get hold of it. Apparently, it's not so hard.
Tubi, Pluto, I don't know. Definitely. And I will say, if you're like, I don't want to deal with commercials on Tubi, watch it on a browser and get ad block, and takes care of that.
Anyway, great choice. It fits our theme perfectly.
For sure. And it deals with class. It deals with, like, there's so much. It's a very...
And this is another... That's why we do this.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, see you later.
I'm rolling in my bright green John Deere. Bought it really cheap at an auctioneer. This is my life, I am so boss. The people who don't know, you're at a loss. When I'm mowing my lawn, I am in the zone. This yellow comfy chair is known as my throne. Mowing the lawn is amazing and you'll see it is my favorite activity. I am mowing the lawn, yeah, I'm mowing the lawn. Mowing the lawn, cause I am mowing the lawn. Yeah, I'm mowing the lawn. Mowing the lawn. And I love this. Yeah, I love this.
My pet.